So, if you may have seen last week, or was, well, what happened last week, there was a big protest in London all about the anti corona lockdown rules. And this wasn't so much a protest against the rules, people were more protesting because they didn't think COVID exists. Not only did they not think that COVID did not exist, they were also promoting, as was heard in one, drugs which we know do not work or even help promote this virus. There was signs of one woman promoting what was known as a bleach type cure, which is, again, it means literally injecting someone with bleach to try and cure the virus. These people are absolute, well, crackpot nuts and conspiracy theorists. However, what was really worrying and what needs to be kept somewhat of attention to, however, I would argue from the article that we're going to go through next, just after this, or about to get into, the idea that sort of the far right and conspiracy theorists are coming together is not actually new. The far right and conspiracy theorists have been pretty much together on the same page as long as I've known them. I can go back to when I was first talking about Alex Jones all the way back in 2012. All the way back. And even then, I don't know many conspiracy theorists, even though they might claim to be left-wing. I don't know many conspiracy theorists, when you look at the type of stuff they're pushing, that really aren't pushing a very right-wing agenda. And the fact that we had what has been branded a rebranding of the new Union of Fascists, which is the old Oswald Mosley group, and a new slogan of restoring faith in fascism, which again in itself should be incredibly worrying, because now we've got to worry about an actual serious possible right-wing threat, because I've said this before, there is going to be a lot of anger in this country, and it is very likely that groups like that will take advantage of this anger, and there will be no one to blame but the Brexiteers in the first place who brought all this on. But that's hopefully a scenario that doesn't pan out, but it is definitely something to worry about. So we're going to go over the article that's from The Guardian, and it's how the coronavirus has brought together conspiracy theorists and the far right. Now, I would argue that conspiracy theorists have always been far right people themselves. This isn't something new that's been brought to the table, but I think it's just something that people have suddenly noticed, especially after that flag, that symbol was flown on the protest, which was a fascist symbol. So on Saturday in London, more than 10,000 people gathered barefaced and packed perilously close together in Trafalgar Square to protest what protesters branded, quote, the new normal. Under coronavirus, masks, lockdown restrictions, and the spectre of mandatory vaccination and privacy obliterating health passports. The message leaned towards the US style of libertarianism, asking marchers to, quote, unite for freedom from state control, but the mood was directly conspiratorial. Headline speakers included doctors and nurses suspended from their government bodies for claiming that coronavirus was a globalist hoax. Piers Corbyn, a long-time anti-vaxxer and climate change denier, and last-minute addition of David Icke, a fabulously famous for his books rejigging classic anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist to include reptile people originating from the fourth dimension. And bear in mind, this is something that I don't think many people actually know. Many people may or may not know, David Icke tried to start his own conspiracy theorist channel called The People's Voice. And I actually went down originally in like the first big like recruitment event they had at, what was it now? The Camden. It was like the Camden's Working Men College or something like that. And I remember going there, and I sat and I spoke with these people, and I heard David Icke. I even met David Icke and shook his hand. And my intention was to actually infiltrate the People's Voice and see what happened. However, unfortunately, because again they weren't offering paid positions, I couldn't really take it. Unfortunately, but there you go. But that's another story for another time. If people want me to tell that story, if you want me to tell that story on like a, because there's some interesting stories I got from that. I can tell you now. So I got from that. I might do a good morning walk about that, because that's actually quite an interesting. Yeah, I might do that maybe. But anyway, back to the article. So, among the marchers were similarly random assortment of endorsements. There were anti-vax and anti-5G placards, and several T-shirts and signs that alluded to QAnon, a recent US conspiracy movement already too baroque to neatly summarize, but whose central premise is that Donald Trump is waging a clandestine war against a all-knowing globalist paedophile conspiracy from his rebel stronghold in the White House. Much was made of men unfurling a British Union of Fascist flag at the crowd's edge. At a similar protest in Berlin on the same day, it drew nearly over 20,000 people, and a far-right contingent attempted to storm the Reichstag. It would be easy to dismiss these events as a random mishmash of merely selfish and assorted cranks, pushed together under the pressure of lockdown, but this is not the case. If you'll indulge a bit of conspiratorial thinking of my own, these protests are more calculated than they appear. They aren't just a symptom of understandable but misguided public frustration with events of the past few months. Rather, they represent the continuing abstention of large swathes of the public from what could be termed our shared reality, or shared public sphere. And suggest that the recent tendency of fringe and conspiratorial positions to rapidly seed and to burst into mainstream politics won't be ending anytime soon. The seemingly desperate groups that attend these protests are part of a shifting coalition of conspiracist and far-right groups. One of the primary organisers of Saturday's protest was a UK-based anti-5G movement known as Stand Up X, or by the unbeatable acronym SUCKS. According to Hope Not Hate, the group has previously backed smaller protests and by a US-linked QAnon-friendly outfit in Manchester and other UK cities. They say the groups are part of a growing number of conspiracy outfits willing to sideline differences in beliefs in order to collaborate. The previous investigations by journalists in the US have found far-right organisations behind the Facebook groups arranging lockdown protests. All of this is part of a recent blending of multiple strands of conspiratorial thinking and far-right politics. Conspiracy theorists have always had points that overlap, but over the past few years, the anti-vax movement has become more predominantly right-wing, while mainstream far-right and even right populist parties have become more conspiratorial. The Italian Five Star Movement and the Northern League have recently questioned vaccine effectiveness, as has France's National Front. In Hungary, Viktor Orban regularly suggests that the Jewish financier George Soros is about to swamp the country of migrants, and Trump this week claimed his opponent Joe Biden was controlled by, quote, people that you've never heard of, people that are in the dark shadows. Conspiracy theorists generally have an anti-authoritarian component. They are against the state, or the Illuminati that control the states, or the lizard who control the Illuminati. But in these cases, they might be best understood as part of what the academic Mark Davis has termed the anti-public discourse. This public and the public sphere, and in the case of the far right and the populists and the conspiracy theorists, this is helped by them. Davis says that by anything radically flouting the ethical and rational norms that underpin democratic discourse, in effect undermining rational debate and trust in institutions and elite expert knowledge that is used to go a long way towards determining our conscious reality. For some, this anti-public discord comes as a sense of alienation from traditionalist institutions. In recent years, rising inequality and crises have shaken the system to its core. But direct causality implied by shadowy actors pulling strings to determine global events is far easier to grasp than the complex financial and political systems that determine our lives. For those in power, such as Trump, conspiratorial thinking allows them to obfuscate, share blame, and sow disorder, and further erode the authority of the institutions meant to constrain them. When what remains of the traditional order faces the crisis of confidence, financial, political, or even viral, the amplification of theories that bypass scientific management or even democratic debate further exacerbates the decline of whatever trust was left. And it wasn't. There we go. In this way, it doesn't matter so much that it's unlikely that the large contingent of anti-vaxxers out last week will make much of a headway against a coronavirus vaccine. Because, thank God, by the way, there was a poll that showed most Britons, about 85% of Britons, would take the coronavirus vaccine. So we did very well in the UK, to be honest, to fight back against Andrew Wakefield and the anti-vax wave that he unleashed. So, but they're still out there, unfortunately. They've also still taken their shot in the largest salvo against the establishment and provided a scaffold for other movements to climb. There's no telling which theory will next make the leap to the newly porpoise centre. I wouldn't have bet on QAnon, but earlier this month, Trump offered encouragement to QAnon followers, saying that he heard of these people, that they love our country. And this week, The Telegraph published a superficially credulous account of a favourite QAnon claim, that pizza emojis are used as a secret paedophile code on social media to abuse children. It was hoped that the coronavirus crisis had strengthened the state and traditional institutions, and that political extremes seem to be in decline. But as long as a vibrant anti-public discourse is still thriving on the fringes, it will continue to crash into the mainstream. I can't disagree with him, but this is not the first time. Like I say, this has happened before. These conspiratorial theorist nutjobs have been around for quite a number of years, and if anything, the internet has only allowed them to amplify their voice. I've said it before. I've come up with a theory called the internet magnifying glass, of why tiny know-nothing problems can suddenly be magnified because a larger channel broadcasts it to a larger audience and blows it up to be a bigger problem than it is. And of course, what is a conspiracy theorist but amplifying something that is not even a problem, or something that doesn't even exist because it's a conspiracy theory? And all of a sudden, the more people get drawn to it, and the more people get drawn into it. But we've been there before, and no doubt, I'm sure there will be conspiracy theories posting under this, but as I've said, there's no point engaging with some of these people because some of them are just, they're beyond help. Let's put it that way. So with that, thank you for watching. Please do remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and share this video around. It does help out massively. And if you are new, please do remember to hit the subscribe button, because we do talk about politics, especially British politics, and of course Brexit, even though we talked about something else today. But I do think it's something well worth keeping an eye on, in British discourse. So with that said, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.